All right, let's go. Let's call the meeting to order and roll call.
All right, we'll ask for Councilor Boehner.
Yes.
Councilor Platt.
Yes.
Councilor Thompson.
Here.
So we're missing Councilor Paulson.
No, I'm here. I just have a kid screaming in the background.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Councilor Ocholi is still not present. Council President Fender.
Here.
And Mayor Gibson.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do our moment of silence now that we know who's on. A lot going on still, you know, a lot to be thankful for, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that we need to hope for. So, moment of silence, please. Okay, let's move on. We don't have any special presentations. We don't have it. We do have approval of minutes for March 11th.
I move approval of the minutes, March 11.
Second.
You guys got that?
All those in favor, you can go by raising your hand, or those on the phone, I'll give you a minute.
Aye.
Yes.
And Shauna, I haven't heard from you yet.
I
Okay.
say yes.
Okay. Got everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
And then before we go much further, we probably need to look at an agenda item add.
Okay.
What was originally posted. We have counselor assignments that I'd like to add under section 7.4.
Okay.
And we'll have Ronnie share his screen when we get to that agenda item, and he'll pull it up.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, let's move on to open forum. We welcome public comment at this time. The council will be happy to receive your comments pertaining to items on the agenda, including questions, suggestions, complaints, and items for the future. Each person's time will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody? Well, I'm extremely disappointed that we don't have anybody online that wants to talk about some of the fun things that have been going on in the city. Disappointed, absolutely. So with that being said, let's move on. There isn't any unfinished business. Let's move right into our new business 7.1 update on Metro 2040 plan and the development construction excise tax, CET grant, IGA King City master planning. Mike, you want to talk to that?
Sure thing. So we've met with Steve Faust, Tim O'Brien, and our planner Keith Leiden last week, discussed the scope of work. Steve Faust from 3J Consulting is going to develop a more in-depth scope of work that has associated times and rates associated with his contractors and employees.
Mike, you're fading out somehow. I don't know. We lost you there for a minute.
Sorry. There's a little bit of an echo too, but so Steve is going to produce the scope of work with assigned employee wages and rates that will reflect our scope of work moving forward. We're going to review that and attach it to our contract as part of the contract, not to exceed, things of that nature. So we met last week myself, Peter, Timo Bryan, and Keith Biden to go over documents, and Steve from Three. So with that in mind, we have the IGA pretty much worked out with Metro right now. We have the third party identified. That was the issue that was holding us up previously because we didn't have, there was like a tie break or something like that. And that tie break identified as a member of Washington County staff, planning staff, will be the tie break in the instance where we disagree. With that, we should have the IGA put a motion from last meeting. Can you give me the date on when that motion was passed?
Mike, you're fading in and out. I mean, there's some of the things that you said that I don't know if everybody heard.
And I think
No, I missed a lot.
Can we mute everyone who I'm getting a lot of feedback from other people's lines too. So maybe just mute.
There we go. Can everybody hear me now? Just show me a thumbs up. Is that better? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, if you can just keep muted, and then if you need to unmute. So to rehash once again for the third or fourth time, we have met with 3J Consulting, our contract planner, and our legal counsel and Metro to work out and refine the scope of work and the contracting documents for the CET 2019-2020 Planning and Development Grant. We're almost done. We have the IGA. Yes, Miss Fender, I will ask you to unmute. Oh, you don't have a question. Okay, never mind. So we will be moving that forward over the next week. We should have those documents ready to execute. I believe the last motion that was passed by the city council was to authorize the city manager to execute those documents once the scope of work was completed and within the budget that was proposed in the RFP. I believe that those things are still moving forward as proposed. So that's your update on that, and everything looks good. We should be able to execute in the next week or two, and preferably before the end of August, or before the end of July, sorry. Now you just have to unmute if you want to talk.
I was just clapping because we could hear you loud and clear. That was my supportive clap.
Okay, so there's no motion that is necessary for that report out. So we're good. And
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
okay, go right ahead.
Mike, just make sure I'm clear. This is the actual agreement that will allow the grant to be implemented. Am I correct?
That is
Michael?
correct. Gretchen Boehner, yes. Or Councilor Boehner, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I was clear.
Can you give us a reminder just what that grant dollar amount is?
The total grant dollars are, it's like 350,000, and that 350,000, 280 is set aside for 3J Consulting. And there's like a 57,000 set aside for planning and development services for what is it? It's MSA, Murray Smith and Associates. And then I think we have another, the remainder is for in-house contract planning, or our contract planner. Ken, you're muted if you wanted to talk.
Any other questions regarding that update? Questions, concerns? Okay. All right, let's move on then to 7.2, Washington County CARES Act, IGA. Mike, once again.
Unfortunately, I don't have an update on this. I had contacted John Southgate with Washington County to move forward on some of the business grant programs that Washington County is developing, and supposedly there was an IGA that was floated around I can't find that IGA. So I asked John Southgate last week to send me a copy of that, and I have not received it yet. And that's as of 5:30 today. I still haven't received the IGA. So still trying to get a hold of it. Still trying to get involved in that small business grant program that is sponsored through the CARES Act and through Washington County. So unfortunately, I wanted to update the council. I had thought that I would get that IGA, and I just don't have it.
You want to just kind of give a kind of overview to the council on the activities surrounding CARES dollars? I mean, we met with Roy Rogers, and you've been working behind the scenes. Just a brief update on what is out there and what are we trying to do, I think would be helpful.
Sure. There's about 5 buckets of funds. Each bucket has its own guidelines and specifications that go into it. We've submitted a request for, gosh, I want to say it was about $243,000 to include sanitation facilities at the park. We submitted that on Monday. But there's other buckets as well. There's the small business grant program. There's the psychological well-being program. There's business development, and then there was another one it's just not ringing a bell right now. It was for like personal protective or paycheck protection, something to that effect. So we are trying to get as creative as possible and try to go for as many recovery dollars that we can. The trouble is we have to be able to justify it. And the other thing is, if it's a grant, then we have to be able to spend that money before the end of the year. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. Everything came last minute and came fast.
Right.
So over the last 2 weeks, I think we met with Commissioner Rogers. Was it last week, Ken, or was it?
It was the week before.
Before.
Right.
And it was the first we'd heard of it.
Right.
It was pretty late in the week, like a Wednesday or Thursday. And that was the first we'd heard of it. And in that time span, so basically about 7 to 9 days, we've been trying to turn around applications, IGAs, and everything associated with this CARES Act funding coming out of Washington County. And it's been a little bit of a blitz.
Well, we really appreciate what you guys have been able to do this far. And, we also want to be thankful that Roy Rogers, our commissioner, reached out to us to really give us some detailed information that we did not really have. And if it hadn't been for that, we could have missed an opportunity. And I'm going to give Roy full credit for the way he reached out to us to make sure that we were aware that there were potentially some dollars available. None of it is guaranteed. It still has to go through an approval process. But if it had not been for Roy reaching out to us, we wouldn't be as far along as we are. You agree, Mike? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, because without that, I was not aware of the other 3 or 4 buckets of money. We were literally, I believe, aware of 2 different buckets, but there was another 3 buckets that we had no idea even existed.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Michael, is there anything that we as a council need to pre-approve to keep that moving?
So far, it's just been the grant applications themselves and chasing dollars. So most of this is like recovery funds. You had to have expended money initially in order to qualify for that. So a lot of it's like a reimbursement style program. So monies that we had spent previously on, plexiglass or additional cleaning for the building. Like on last Friday, we had a lady come in here and puke all over the bathroom, and we had to call Espresso to come in and do an emergency sanitation and then an entire building wipe down, So those will be expenses that are added in. Luckily, with the CARES Act program that we're in, we submit a request at the end of every month, and they'll reimburse us for any additional expenses that we've had to expend for those sort of protocols. The other thing is like money that you've spent on preventative measures, such as markings on the ground, plexiglass sheets, masks, face coverings, shields, things that the officers have to use while they're out in the field, any sort of additional sanitation measures after, you know, we have somebody in custody that we have to take in. All those elements are being tallied and recorded and then submitted for reimbursement, hopefully.
Okay. Well, we hope for the best and see what we can get out of it. You know, it's just an opportunity to try to do some things that we wouldn't have the funding normally to do. So, okay. Any other questions regarding that? So we're not going to have a motion because you don't have the IGA. So we're just going to table it until next meeting, or what are we going to do on this?
Well, you know, what I'd like to do, even though we haven't seen it, is have the council at least authorize me with the review of the mayor. So we don't have to pull together an emergency meeting like next Tuesday or Monday or something like that. If the council could authorize me and the mayor to execute the agreement when it comes in, pending any legal review, recourse, or any of that, I think we would be in good shape.
Yeah, and I think the timing of it is really, really, really important to be able to get it done as quickly as we have, lay our hands on it. So I think that would be the appropriate thing to do.
Then I'll move Mike to authorize you to execute the CARES Act IGA with review of the mayor pending any unforeseen legal or otherwise issue that would raise you would have to come back to the council. But I don't know how you want to notate all of that, but
I think that's pretty good.
I mean,
luckily we have audio
under the normal course, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, got that?
I've got it.
Any questions or concerns? All right, we so approved.
Well, we'll get a vote, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to. So I have video for Commissioner Thompson, Commissioner Platt, Commissioner Fender, and Mayor Gibson. If you guys are in favor, can you raise your hand? 2, 3. Commissioner Paulson and Commissioner Boehner, I need voice authorization from you two.
That's a yes.
All
Yes.
right. Gotcha. All right. Thank you. So that's a unanimous 6-0 vote. All right. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to 7.3. This is a discussion regarding our desire to involve our high school students in the Tigard-Tualatin School District. There are several pieces to this. There's several layers to this. Gretchen has been in conversation with Dr. Sue Reich, and regarding the possibility of doing some in-class teaching or class-type teaching about city government. There's been some conversation between me and Ben Bowman about kids being involved in city government, maybe a student city councilor, and also we have also talked about the possibility of using students for interns. Another piece of that that's going to be coming up is how can we engage high school students in the development of our UGB. You know, so all of those things are going to be very important. I would like for Gretchen to talk a bit about her thoughts on the piece that she's been, and she did have a conversation with Dr. Sue Reich, as I said. So Gretchen, why don't you give us an update on that piece?
Okay. I met by phone with Dr. Sue and Ms. Tracy, who
Tracy
is
Rose.
Tracy Rose, who's
Okay.
her assistant, and we discussed the following issues, and I sent the mayor and Mike the summary as well as back to them. In fact, I got a response from them that they thought it was very clear, a clear summary of the conversation. Part one is we'd like to have a youth member on our council, and Dr. Sue asked that we send her a letter outlining the student qualifications, the time commitment, duties involved, and the learning opportunity. And I understand that students would apply in late August and the beginning of September to do this, have this position and be in place by October. A subset of this issue was, in addition, when I was on the Tigard Council, the student body president or the president of their youth board would come to the council meeting once a month and give a brief recap of what was going on school events wise and answer any questions. And this took about no more than 5 minutes during the meeting once a month during the school year. She seemed to think that, Dr. Sue seemed to think that was a really good idea. And as I said, she was familiar with doing that with the city of Tigard. Are there any questions? That's section one from my perspective. Do you want me to go on to two, or do we want to have a discussion on this?
Any comments or input regarding this?
I just have a question. When you say, Gretchen, that the student would be on the council, not as a voting member, right?
Not as a voting member, but would participate in discussions.
Okay.
It'd be a great learning experience for a student.
Oh, yeah, it'd be awesome.
I think Tigard already has one on their council that participates. Is that true, Gretchen? I think that's...
Yes. It took a long time. It didn't happen while I was on the council, but eventually they got one.
Yeah, I think it just happened last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, subject two, a student intern. King City's had one from Tigard High School in the past, according to Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And what Dr. Sue would like is to have the city manager send her and Tracy a letter outlining the type of work an intern would do and the learning opportunity for the student. I mentioned that given that we are in the midst of planning for the new expansion, there might be several different kinds of opportunities for students to be involved in that process. Comments?
I agree. That's part of the vision that I have. The youth movement is going strong, and I really believe that this is another opportunity for our young folks to be involved in their future, the future of this city. And I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. I understand that it has to be defined. We're not sure what their role might be. We'll have to define that. We'll have to really try to figure that out collectively and see where we end up going with it. But I think it's a great opportunity for one or two young people to be involved in what we're talking about doing.
Will the students get extra credit or what? I mean, I 100% think this is a phenomenal idea, and I think both having an intern and a student member on council is great. Is the school board or the high schools willing to, provide the student with extra credit or do something on their end for their participation?
That's a great question. I don't know. Do you have an answer for that?
I don't. Dr. Sue didn't have the information at hand when I spoke to her about how they were handling it for the Tigard student. I know in the past, reps from Tualatin that were involved with the city of Tualatin would get a credit, a school credit for participating for the year.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It would be ideal to be able to make sure that there's something in it for them.
Yeah.
And to get a credit would be ideal.
Right.
Hey, Gretchen, did the city of Tigard develop a student position description?
Yes, they did. I don't have it because it happened after I left the council, but
Right.
I'm sure it would be easy just to ask them for their
Right, because
qualification
what
list.
we had with the interns is one, finding work that they can actually do, because it's under a different category, and we have other things too that they're not allowed to access, you know, like police records or those sort of things. We have passports; those all take a permanent employee, or you have to have clear parent in order to
Mike, you're breaking up again.
because you have to mute your. It happens when people don't mute. So if you don't mute your phone, Gretchen, then I can't be heard over everybody else. So, Ernie, do you want to chime in on the CJIS requirements for, you know, someone to actually access?
Yeah, that's the thing that I was just going to pipe in and say is that basically that whole office space where Sam sits, that's a CJIS secure position right there, and so those doors technically need to remain locked, and people can't have access to that area, and so that's one. Brian and I's office is another, just because of the information that we review in there. Back in the squad room is another one, and so there's a bunch of kind of no-fly zones, so to speak, and so you know, it would take. I mean, I suppose we could probably figure out the process to be able to vet somebody, but again, is that something that we want to step up and do, you know, at the time? And is there, I know when we had the interns there this last spring, there was their only access was at Dave's office, right? And so, you know, it's something that we could do there. I mean, it's a great experience, and I think it's really cool for the kids to be able to have that chance, because it's something that you know, when they finally get a chance to get their eyes opened up and see it, it's a cool little deal. But you know, there are some issues we have to look at as far as CJIS goes, and the potential violations, and because there's more stuff that keeps coming on every day as far as our access to other stuff, and so I'm going to be a little bit more of a stickler to certain things, to where we can't have violations of people walking in and out of offices.
Sure.
And so along those lines, you know, for the intern or participation, I would hope that we would look at the planning commission as well as being an opportunity for some young person to participate in, not only on the council and city business, but also in the planning piece of it, you know, which I think will be kind of good for a young person that might open their eyes to some future opportunities. So I think those are the kinds of things that we need to kind of define. Why don't I talk to Mayor Jason Schneider and see if I can get some more detail on the student city councilor, and I'm sure he will provide that information for me. So I'll take that as an assignment to find out about that piece specifically, okay?
And I have, Mike, I have a couple ideas. I think interns Research projects are a really good kind of thing to hand off to some interns. And I have a couple ideas for some kind of longer term project ideas. So I'll kind of try to formulate some of those and just shoot them to you as far as, what if we went down this route. I mean, I'm sure you guys have all the things too, but I think there's some interesting concepts that we could come up with if we wanted to give some research work to an intern.
And Mike, my thought was using interns in connection with the planning effort that we're going to be going through. And they obviously would be working, so to speak, under the Planning Commission. Hello?
It just takes a minute to unmute, Gretchen, but
Oh.
Yeah, I believe that there's going to be opportunity coming up in the very near future with the activities surrounding the CET, the 2040 Planning and Development Grant, as well as the Transportation System Plan. So I believe that both of those planning efforts will provide opportunities for not only our residents, but our youth as well.
Okay, unless there's other comments, I'll go on to number 3. Number 3, we discussed the concept of a sort of a course called Local Government 101, and we were talking about it as a one class period presentation that local counselors, such as ourselves or the mayor, would give a class to a history or civics, whatever the seniors are taking, for one period during the semester. And the concept would be about 20 minutes of lecture followed by questions and discussion. Given the current situation that's going on, this might be a great way to give students an insight in how they could participate at the local level in a positive way. For example, and I gave an example that happened while I was on the Tiger Council. Students from Tigard High School raised the issue of a safety crossing off Durham Road in front of the high school. The city worked with students, faculty, and budgeted dollars. Some of it was raised by students to install a pedestrian-controlled lighted crosswalk in front of the school that I'm sure you've all been through. Dr. Sue asked that we send her a letter outlining the proposal. She thought it would be great because the students today do not get any education about how local government works at all, and that's anything below the federal government. You can mute me. Hello?
No, yeah, I was just going to say, Gretchen, I think that approach is good, and I think it would be wonderful. We don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the school year, and more than likely is going to be more Zoom type opportunities than anything else. You know, and this is kind of a unique opportunity to get kids involved in this kind of conversation. You know, I know that sometimes these kind of conversations can be kind of boring, but I'm sure there's some seniors who are very much interested now in city government, and maybe this is really the ideal time for them to understand more about being involved at the city level as a city councilor or mayor or city manager or recorder or any of those things that they wouldn't normally know much about. So I think those are the kinds of things that, you know, should be discussed. I think it's an opportunity. I really do. And one more thing, the city of Tigard is working on their police reform. They have had some really strong conversations and documentation, and they have Tigard High students involved in this. And they have given their input and some really great ideas, and they're getting some really good input from those students who are involved in their efforts on police reform.
Well, personally, I think this is an idea that should have been implemented many years ago, but I think, as the mayor said, this is a golden opportunity to get the schools to work more with local government in terms of educating their students about how the real world works.
Yes.
Dr. Sue told me that they already have leadership from various private industries coming in and giving talks to various classes, and she thought this would be a wonderful addition to this educational process that the kids are going through.
Okay. Now, Gretchen, so the final approval for the curriculum for each one of these conversations, like what does a mayor do, what does a counselor do, and how the voting process works, or any of those kind of things, I'm just throwing out some thoughts, that has to be defined by who and approved by who?
Well, everything is going to go through Dr. Sue. She said as far as the classroom, the government 101, local government 101, when she got our letter, she would submit it to the administrations for the high schools so that they could figure out how it could be worked into their plan for the school year.
Okay.
So she wanted to get that as soon as possible because the teachers will be working on this soon.
Okay.
I should say the administrators.
Okay. So how do you see, what do you need from the council? And I need to hear from the council as a whole on how you feel about taking this approach. The very specific, did you have a fourth one?
No, there were just these three, and I figured the intern should come from Mike since it's his department, not the council's, as to the who's, what's, and where's.
Right.
I think the council should be involved in drafting the qualifications, but if you're going to get them from Tigard, I think there's no reason for us to recreate the wheel, and we could just use their setup as a template,
right,
for ours.
I'll get that from Jason Snyder and use that as a template for what we're talking about doing in terms of city council.
Right. And I would also ask if we could, from Tualatin High School, have a student there, and it had always been the student body president, but it doesn't have to be, who could come and give us a brief recap of what's going on at the high school where our students go once a month during the school year.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's just one more piece to this that I think we all need to understand is that there's a big time effort going on to try to combat racism in the high schools. You know that Tigard-Tualatin passed a resolution for anti-racism. But what I did, I reached out to Ben Bowman, who is working with Dr. Sue, because I also want the mayors within the school district. That means Gary Sherrado, Frank Bubenek of Tualatin, Sherrado of Durham, Frank Bubenek of Tualatin, Jason Snyder of Tigard, and I want to join forces with them to combat racism, meaning that we want everybody within the community to know that it's not just the school system that has to fix this problem. It is all of us. And we want everybody to understand that the mayors of all of these cities within the school district, this school district within these cities, we want to support everything that they're doing in order to combat this. And when we get involved, we're not just talking to the students, we're talking to the parents, which is most important, the behavior of their children when they go to school. And the parents of these communities need to know how elected officials feel about these kinds of issues. So Ben is working with Dr. Sue to try to formulate what that will look like and what our involvement needs to be. But that's another piece of this student activity that we're trying to be involved in and support as elected officials.
Excellent.
As to, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying excellent. That's all.
And I would just say that I did get that description from Kate, who sent it over. So she gave me the link, and I can link right into that youth council position information.
Great.
Okay. All right.
Well, as I say, that there's no reason to recreate the wheel.
No, definitely not.
As to item number 3, I'm willing to sit down and kind of come up with some ideas of how it could be structured, but I literally would want it to be not just an hour of lecture that we'd lose the students, but have a short lecture and then open it and have an open discussion where questions can get asked and answered.
I agree. Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. And what are you going to do? You're just going to formulate that and email us for review and for input?
Yeah.
Okay.
As I say, I'm just coming up with a rough outline because I think we're going to have to see, make changes as necessary.
Okay, but it's a start, and we need to move on it. I think there's plenty of opportunity there.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about the energy and how energized these students are for trying to learn more and do more and be involved. So I think the time is now. Yeah.
So that, as I said, I sent a recap of our conversation to Dr. Sue and Tracy Rose, and they were very pleased and are looking forward to getting a letter from Mike, whomever is going to, Mr. Mayor, if you're going to sign the piece on the youth council member, and I'll work on the local government 101.
Yeah, and really, I think recruiting counselors to participate in this. I mean,
absolutely.
All of us are involved, so I think that's the most important thing. So,
and I think this is gives counselors more of an opportunity to learn about what the kids are thinking.
We can learn from them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I intend to learn more from the kids than they learn from me.
Okay. Good job, Gretchen. This is exciting.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other conversation, concerns, or questions regarding this subject? Feedback, input, suggestions, all those things.
I'm assuming that we're talking about next year for if we did a local government 101 type class, because they already have all their classes for this year, don't they?
I don't know. We're talking about this coming school year. When you say next year,
Shauna, the principals and maybe assistant principals will be finalizing syllabus is the term we use in college. And that's why Dr. Sue wanted me to get a summary so that basically they could hold one class knowing there'll be one class this would be involved with. I mean, if we can't get it in the first semester, we could get it going in the second semester.
Okay, good question.
Thank you.
All right.
So I just have a question on the format here. Would this just be a number of city officials sitting in a large auditorium room together? I mean, what are we actually talking about here?
Are you talking about the class? No, it would be one person would go and speak to an individual class, and there may be 15 different classes of the same genre, and so it could be split up among various city councilors to go and give a class. Or one person who is a super achiever could go and give all of classes.
But more than likely, we're talking about a Zoom type.
Yeah, I mean, it would be Zoom, yes.
Yeah.
You know, have the school get a hold of us, or if they use Google or Meet Team or whatever their preferred source. But it would be one elected going and making a presentation and having a discussion with a class. And I assume there's probably 30-ish kids in a class.
And what would be the content of that class?
Do a brief overview of what is a county government, what is a city government, what areas of law of the government does the county handle, what does the city do? You know, city runs streets, roads, streets, water, garbage, sewers. You know, counties are responsible for the jail, the justice in the state justice, the clean water services, and health. You know, all youth justice, all of that. Most kids don't have a clue who does what, and that the offices are nonpartisan. They have terms of generally 4 years for the electeds. I mean, just going over really basic stuff.
I get the basic angle of addressing, you know, the different levels of government and the services the government provides.
Right.
And, but if you, I'm just having challenges on the overall overarching goals of the program, what it would try.
The goal of the program is to provide some education to the students, but also let them know about opportunities to get involved, that it's not like the federal government, which is tied up in bureaucracy and doesn't function very well, that it's much more open, that folks here either don't get paid at all or get paid a relatively modest sum to perform their duties, and you can set up meetings with electeds. You can come and speak in front of the city council meetings or the county commission meetings, whether just as an open forum as we have, or the citizen comment section that the county commission has. All of those kinds of things that would give them opportunities to participate in the system, because they will all be voters within a year. Does that help, Mike?
Yeah, Mike, just on my thoughts on this, you know, I think it has to be broken up into some very specific pieces.
Yeah.
As this subject matter is really, what does a city manager do? You know, to talk about that piece, what does a city councilor do? How do you get involved in becoming a city councilor, and what is that responsibility?
Yeah.
You could have somebody that talks about what the county really, how does that play a role in what's going on in our overall environment in the region and so on. But it would have to be very specific topics that.
I mean, I would be focusing on cities, obviously, from my perspective, because I haven't been a county commissioner.
Right.
I mean, I would hope that county commissioners would want to participate in this program as well.
Right. I would think that that would be the way we would have to do it. You know, you can't get too broad with this.
No.
Be very specific,
No.
just to give some information on, first of all, what is city government, how does city government function, and what are the things that you can learn from by these conversations. Does that help?
Yeah.
You?
And we are talking about a presentation. We're not talking about a whole class, right? You're not talking about an extent. You're talking about an hour presentation of going into a classroom as a guest speaker and
giving some brief information and then eliciting a discussion with the students.
You're talking about a series of classes.
The reason I mentioned this, years ago when I was on the Tigard Council, there was a requirement that seniors attend either a council meeting or a planning commission meeting. And the questions that students would ask at the ends of the meetings were just amazing. Some showing total ignorance of the process, but some were incredibly insightful. And that's what got Craig Dirksen and myself so interested in doing this kind of a project, because it would be a wonderful resource for kids to know more of what's going on and how they can make a difference.
Well, we're certainly going to have to work through the details of it, and I would expect that we would get a lot of support from Dr. Sue and her team on how to best do this. So I think it's an opportunity, but it has to be defined. It has to be well defined.
Yeah.
So that
well, that's why I want to come up with a draft of an outline for a class like this, and then bounce it off of you guys, because you know I'm not the expert.
Yeah.
You know, if I could just interject, I think this could be like a speaker series as part of a class curriculum. So like they're already being taught government, they're already being taught civics, they're already being taught social studies and everything else. They're probably reading Thomas Paine and all the way back to, you know, Plato's thesis and everything else. So they're probably reviewing these things. What I would see this being more of was like a guest speaker session. You have a guest speaker come in for one class. They sit in on the class, maybe give a 10-15 minute brief about what their role is, and then answer the questions that the students might have in particular to, you know, their given role and their organization. And I could see that being, you know, if you got enough volunteers, you could get a couple counselors from different organizations to come in for a 1 hour session. Just kind of a meet and greet and question show, you know. But I don't see counselors or myself or other city managers taking on the role of creating an entire class lesson, syllabus, or elective for
No, that's not what I was talking about.
Okay. No, you're on the right page. You're right, Mike. This is, and maybe it's better defined as a speaker series that says it's to give information and to show so that kids can put a face to these responsibilities, and, you know, just to give them some insight on what we think about it, what we do. So it is more of a speaker series than a whole class syllabus that's going to be too detailed. So I think you're right, and I think that's what we're talking about doing. So, okay, well, we have our work cut out for us. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Gretchen, thank you. Well done.
You're very welcome.
All right. All right, let's move on to 7.4, council assignments. Are we going to see something?
Yeah, Ronnie, can you pull it up on your computer there and share your screen?
Mike?
Yes, sir.
can I get in here involved with the last subject?
Who's speaking? Oh, is that John?
Yes,
John
Yeah.
Walter. Is it okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my wife and I moved to Portland, or not to Portland, to Redmond, Oregon about 12 years ago. And the main reason we moved there is because she had lots of problems with her heart and asthma and all that stuff. So anyhow, in the 2.5 years we lived there, I was involved with the Kiwanis Club. And the Kiwanis Club was involved with the high school. And these were all key club members. And so one of the things we did is we went out on several different holidays, and the Kiwanis Club kids and the Kiwanis Club members, we went throughout the town and put in flags for whatever holiday it was, Flag Day, Independence Day, lots of different things like that. And then another thing we did when we were working with the Kiwanis Club of Redmond is there is a canyon that goes all the way through the city of Redmond. It's a dry canyon. The Deschutes River used to run through it, but then the Deschutes River decided it was sick and tired of going that way, and it went a totally different way. And it left this dry canyon. And what the city of Redmond decided to do is they decided that they wanted to put an amphitheater into this canyon. And so with the Kiwanis Club, luckily, there was a civil engineer. And the civil engineer worked with several contractors he had. And then I worked with the Redmond High School. And so they had a class on surveying. So the kids came down to the canyon. Luckily, it just happened to be across the street from the from the high school. And the kids came down there, and the surveyor showed him his stuff. And they worked up and down the canyon. And then another contractor came out, and the contractor started working with the kids, and they installed, I'm going to say, concrete seats. They don't sound like very good seats to sit on. But on the front side of them, it looked like they were made out of rock that had been chiseled out of a canyon someplace. And anyhow, the kids worked with filling in dirt behind there and compacting. And then a group of kids, and I'm not sure which high school group this was, they came in, a contractor in Deschutes County decided that he would donate a whole bunch of sod, and the kids laid the sod down. And then where's it going with that? I think that's about it. There were lots of things that the Kiwanis Club of Redmond did, working with the high school and also working with the city. And the next thing you know, we had an amphitheater built. The Rotary Club of Redmond, they actually built the stage and the sound system. But eventually what you were able to do is you were able to come into this amphitheater. You could walk in and you could sit down on the grass, and your legs would hang over a concrete, what am I going to think? I guess I'm going to call it a concrete pad. And it was about the size of you sitting at your kitchen table and having your legs hang down and touch the ground. And it was very, very, very much like the amphitheater at Mary Hill Winery up the Columbia River on the Washington side. But it was just this beautiful amphitheater, and they had some pretty big names come in there. But the whole thing that caught my eye and caught my ear was the amount of communication that was done between the Kiwanis Club, the city of Redmond, and then even the Planning Commission. I mean, everybody was on the same page of the playbook. And it was really, really amazing to see the things that could get done. I'm still in awe of the club, of the Kiwanis Club of Redmond. And I'm also in awe of the city of Redmond and all the things that they were able to get done. And it made the city a better place. It made, it got the kids involved at kind of an early age, and everything just worked out really well. I am just so happy having been part of that organization. And, you know, right now I'm working with Pack with Pride, and those guys are down at Tigard High School, and we get some Tigard High School kids in there, and we get some, and we've been getting some missionaries from the Church of Later Jesus Christ of Sons, and a bunch of civilian volunteers. And what we do is we pack up to 850 boxes over Friday and Saturday, and those get sent out to folks that, you know, they're on the wrong end of the spectrum in terms of, you know, having enough money to spend for food or this or that or whatever.
So in that regards, like, I think what we would need to do is look at some way of getting some sort of volunteer project going and some sort of nonprofit coordination between the city and the local nonprofit. But
Oh my God, there you go.
it's kind of the subject I'm working
The
on now.
the lady that's running the process, she's had an extraordinarily amount of positive things about to say our little Miss Jamie,
Yeah.
and that she thinks Jamie is awesome. So it's all good. But the thing that caught my eye when I was up in Redmond is you got all these high school kids, okay, and they want to do something. They want to help somehow. And, you know, I'm not saying King City needs to put a bunch of programs together that only high school kids can join or whatever, but we need to open up the thought process, expand our vision a little bit, and see what we can do to get these very, very, very energetic kids involved with whatever the heck is going on, whatever we need to go to help them, to have them help us is all a good thing. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to put the zipper over my mouth, and I'm not going to say anymore.
All right. Thank you very much for that, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Okay, so as we move into the next piece, it was council assignments. Do we want to go into these one by one, starting at the top here?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me just say a precursor to all of this. You know, these things are changing, and I don't know when things are going to be coming back to what we used to call the normal for attending these meetings. But I want the entire council to know that it's always been my desire to have full participation on all of these specific responsibilities. And as whether you're the primary or the alternate, it is vital to the overall operation. We want to spread it around so that everybody has a role, everybody participates. I don't want any one counselor burdened with trying to do too much. You know, and I know that it is difficult sometimes for the working set to get downtown for a meeting. If we're, say, for instance, we're going to the Washington County or Metro for a meeting at 5 o'clock. It may be a lot easier in the future if we can do more Zooming of those for those type meetings. But I want people to understand that even though you have all these other responsibilities, these things are very important. We need to have them covered. We need to have a seat at the table. And we made a tremendous amount of progress in making sure that King City is represented in all of these things that are important to our day-to-day business and also our future. And I think this list is representative of the things that we have defined as being important. Now, is it subject to change? Maybe, but I want everybody to understand how important it is for us to spread the wealth and make sure that these meetings are, in fact, attended on an ongoing and consistent basis. So that's the way I feel about this list. So now we can start talking about the current representatives on these specific responsibilities, these specific committees, and how we want to move forward on this.
All right. So in moving forward, we can just kind of walk through this thing and start rolling with it.
We can only see, it looks like there's 3 pages. We see page 1 of 3. Are there 3 pages that look, how many different?
Technically 2 pages.
Okay, I'm just wondering how many different committees there are. Okay.
Yeah, there's a number of them.
Okay.
I think the best way to do this is we start at the top and work our way down and then fill in where necessary.
And we live in this world of acronyms, so I see that most of them are in fact defined for what they really do mean. So let's give it our best shot.
So the first one is WACA. Ernie usually goes to these. Ernie, are you on? Can you chime in on the WACA one?
Yeah, so there's a few there that, you know, obviously I'm the chair of the law enforcement committee for the remainder of the year that meets there at WACA, and then I go to the budgetary stuff, and then there's TAC and there's the bug. So there's so many different little subsets off of the main part of WACA. So I've got a pretty good grasp of that.
All right, so Ronnie, will you type Ernie's name into the technical committee piece there for our representative?
I have a different document that I have going up on right now.
What's that?
I got it.
All right. You can't type it in on this one?
No, I don't want to mess it up.
All right. For the board, we want somebody to be nominated to sit from our board. Who did we have before, Ronnie? You have the old one?
I don't have the old one.
All right, hang
For
on.
the board, I believe it was Chief or you. And then for the technical committee, I believe it was the mayor.
Ronnie, I'm not sure how difficult it would be, but it would be really helpful for us if you could figure out how to type in just as we're working through the sheet to see kind of what spots are filled, what spots need to be filled. Is that possible to do it while we're working on it all together?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just find a way to do it without messing it all up.
Thanks.
And is everybody clear on what this is, what this does? Do we need more definition on what this specific one really is? This is the time to ask the question, because this is educational as well.
This is emergency resource or kind of coordinating emergency services, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the council assignments right now, so bear with me.
In a while.
It has been a while.
Well, it hasn't been, yeah, but we should have
Last
it.
year, right? We went through it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through it last year.
It's also been a while since a lot of these, I mean, a lot of these have kept meeting by Zoom, but some of them have not too. So,
And if I can, just on the WACA deal, it might be good to have somebody in there because, they're moving into a new facility within a year, and also they're just by their costs are skyrocketing, and so we need to be able to have a voice there besides me.
Mm-hmm. So, Ernie, what are your thoughts? Any counselor is a good alternate, or do we need, what level do you think an alternate needs to be? Is it something that maybe Lieutenant Brian needs to be the alternate, or how do you see this?
Yeah, I've got him on a couple of committees already that deal with WACA, but it's more, that maybe it's somebody that, we have to, keep Mike or Mira in the loop just because, like I said, I think we skated 1 year. We didn't get the full share yet, but, the costs are going up, and then their costs of doing business. If you look at they've got a new CFO, but the prior 3 to 4 or 5 year outlook, their costs were going up by millions of doing business. And so that all of a sudden starts to spread out, and, it's they don't necessarily look at the bigger agencies, but all of a sudden when, Little King City's cost jumps 125%, that's a big jump.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something that, I feel that, when if we have an elected person there, or maybe that is involved in their board of governors, to where we have some people that are at least at the table and has a chance to speak about that, I think is possibly a plus.
Now, you're a voting member of this board?
I am not a voting member. And so we're still part of the small cities.
Right.
Once we eclipse our 1%, I become a voting member. And then, I've jokingly said this, but I'm kind of serious about it. I always wanted to pay the full member price just to be able to have the vote and to be able to be a person at that table that maybe is listened to a little bit more, rather than I'm lumped into the smaller cities, the smaller fire agencies. They have that one, I can't remember his name, but he's our one vote for everybody. And I've been here 13 years. I've seen him once.
Oh.
Oh dear.
That's not good.
No.
Okay, so then for an alternate on this, do we have a volunteer that is interested in, how often do you meet? Talk about that for a minute.
So just as far as like meeting is for us, a lot of it is just sent as emails that are sent. But they do have I think it's a quarterly meeting of their board, where they're discussing, a lot of stuff going on, because they're going to have some turnover too, because Kelly director, she's leaving. So they just have this brand new CFO in where I don't think I've even seen the numbers for what this budgeting process they've recently done, but it's not the most meetings in the world. A lot of it's sent out email, where you just get a lot of work that way. But it's something that, we need to be aware of, and something that as we are growing and we're getting larger in the next few years, I think it's something that we need to kind of get a foothold right away, rather than all of a sudden, in 3 to 10 years, we get blasted in with, a rather large bill then.
Okay. All right. So everybody heard this. Do we have a volunteer?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are we looking for, so it looks like there's like a subset. There's the board that we need a representative for, and there's also a technical committee that we need a representative for. Is that correct, Ernie?
The technical stuff is more, I think more in line with me and with Jeremy,
Okay.
that deals with, that does our IT, because there are several technical committees there also. And I got to be honest, I've been these technical meetings, I go to them and it's so far over my head, with the stuff that they deal with, that it's difficult to follow. But I think I'd be more interested in people being available for board meetings that occasionally happen. Like I said, it's not that much, but I think it would be nice to have somebody that, was a King City representative that shows up to some board meetings.
I'm happy to be that one.
Okay.
That Shauna?
Yes, Shauna. So I'd be the primary on the board, Ronnie.
Ronnie, there you go, Ronnie. And then while we were talking, I pulled up what we had before, and for this particular piece, it's EN, Ronnie. Or ON. Is it
No,
ON?
it's Owen, yeah. Thanks.
My bad. All right. So that's set for WACA. We have Ernie.
We need an alternate for the board.
We could do an alternate, or it could be Ernie. So
It
far,
could, yeah, it could probably just be me.
All right.
Okay, so Shauna is going to be the primary and Ernie the alternate on this.
Yeah.
And then what about, and you said Jeremy is the alternate on the technical piece, right?
Yeah, he's my default just because he is a former employee there too.
Okay.
And so it's a lot of stuff that we're constantly in a loop. And to be honest, Ken, we get so many updates daily, on technical stuff and everything that goes on. It's pretty intense.
Okay. All right. So let's put Jeremy's name as the alternate for the technical committee.
Pollard.
Pollard, Pollard.
Okay.
You can erase the first name.
Yeah, you just put Pollard. Okay. All right. So the next one is the Washington County Coordinating Committee. I am the primary on that. I'm a voting.
I am currently the alternate on that.
I have Ken as primary and Gretchen as alternate.
Right. And I'm a voting member of that committee. And that committee is designed to look at all of the transportation, roadway activities for the county. And it is always important for us to be represented on this particular committee.
I would agree.
And I'm okay with remaining the primary, and Gretchen, you're okay with?
Yes, because it's a midday meeting.
Right, it's always at noon, and it's the third Monday of each month.
All right, and then under the technical committee, I have myself, and then the alternate is Dave Runyon in the office. I guess we kept that rolling, so that's fine. For the Washington County Community Development Block Grant Program, I have Commissioner Paulson as the primary and Commissioner Fender as the alternate.
I'd be happy to continue with that.
Yep, I'm happy to serve as an alternate. That's fine.
Beautiful.
So
okay.
Ronnie Paulson and Fender. Okay. And then under MAC board, now we have an open for the primary because Commissioner Boylston, and we have Commissioner Platt as the alternate.
Can we give a definition of what that really does so everybody understands?
Yeah, typically there's a MAC commission meeting, which I believe conflicts with our, well, it's like usually the first Wednesday. No, it's the third Wednesday. So it does conflict with our
council meeting.
maybe not.
It used to. It says it's at 1:30, but I know that John would always have to listen to the minutes from the previous meeting and then give us an update because it was at night. So unless they changed it.
It was the water board one. So John could never make the water board meeting because it was always conflicting.
Got it.
When it was. I don't know.
I don't know.
It was one of them that definitely conflicted, and John was on that board and could never make it. So.
Yeah, it was the water board one. The MAC one he was always was able to make because they only have it twice a year. It's I believe it's in June and December.
Okay.
It's
a pretty good one to be on. You can learn a lot about the telecommunications throughout the countywide area, the metropolitan area.
Okay, we need a primary and an alternate.
I'd be willing to be part of that one. That is, if Dave, I don't know if you want to move from the alternate to the primary on that, but I'd be happy to volunteer.
I'd be happy to stay on there and you can set it up either
Dave,
primary or alternate.
Dave, now, is that true that the meetings typically are in the afternoon, like 1:30? Is that?
They used to be in the afternoon.
It says on the sheet there's 1:30.
Yeah.
So maybe it would be prudent for Dave to be the primary and Micah the alternate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, okay, we're good on this one. The water board, the primary is Smart, correct?
Yeah, we had as the primary and Micah as the alternate.
I'd be glad to be the alternate for that if since Micah's taking on quite a bit. And I used to be on and chair that committee for years and years and years.
Okay, Smart isn't here to speak for himself now. Keeping in mind, Smart and Gretchen are all going to be running for their positions in November. So I'm assuming that Smart is going to run again.
And I am definitely running.
Okay, is that a good assumption?
Mayor?
Yeah. Yes.
I believe this one is no longer valid. They gave notice in December 31st, 2018 that this water board expired.
So it's gone.
Well, they've got another committee they've set up.
Okay.
Ronnie.
Okay. What's the new committee?
Tigard Water Board.
Water board.
Is no longer Tigard, or is it still the same name?
The Intergovernmental Water Board.
We're just talking about new people? What are we talking about?
Same thing, different story.
Okay.
Okay. So do we need to change anything other than we need to have representation on this committee? If it's just the Tigard Water Board.
I think since Smart's not here and it's his assignment, I think we should just keep him as primary and then we can choose the alternate. But since he's not going to be here to volunteer himself for anything else, I think it makes sense to keep him on what he's already doing. And then that way we know that he's comfortable doing that.
Absolutely.
Right. So I would say let's keep him on and then.
Okay. And Gretchen there as the alternate.
Yeah.
The bottom line is when somebody is not here, we're supposed to give them more assignments. That's the way the rule of thumb works.
Well, one of the reasons he took that is it's because it's an evening meeting.
Right. No, I understand.
Unfortunately, it meets the same. It has been. Well, no, it's the second Wednesday, so it's not a conflict.
We're fine. We'll be fine. So 5:30 is the time that it meets. Okay. Let's put Gretchen. And all of this is subject to change. Wait a minute, hold on. This is also a learning opportunity for someone too who hasn't been involved in it yet. Gretchen, you already know about it, but
Yeah.
I'm also
Well,
trying
if somebody else wants to be the alternate, that's fine.
I'm happy to be the alternate because it's a 5:30 meeting. So, I mean, that's easy for me.
well, that is good for somebody who's working. So, and I do want the rest of the council to get an opportunity to learn some of this stuff as well. So, Gretchen, you're a seasoned veteran. So let's get somebody.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Next one. What is that? That's vacated. What is that? The Tualatin Basin Natural Resource Coordinator?
It doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, let's wipe it off.
Basically.
Let's get rid of it. Okay. Southwest Coordinator Plan.
Yeah, that's pretty much over as well. There was a committee that was going on looking at the different alternatives for the Southwest Corridor. That's basically been resolved now. I think they have their preferred route they've settled on. But I would still have a representative for the Southwest Corridor. We had Councilor Boylston as the primary and Mayor Gibson as the alternate.
Right.
I would just keep Southwest Corridor Plan on there and then maybe keep.
Why don't you just go ahead and make me the primary? And but this is another learning opportunity for what's going to be going on in the future for this.
I'd be interested in that.
Who's that?
Jamie.
Shauna.
Or Shauna. Yeah, no, Shauna, go ahead. You can go ahead. Give it to Shauna.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good one for Shauna to get on.
Sure. All right.
Okay. I mean, and listen, there's a whole lot of conversation. I've been getting calls from various people who are trying to decide whether or not they're going to move forward with this as a on the November ballot, whether or not they need to move it out. I got a call from PGE. I've gotten a call from Juan Carlos of the Metro Council. There's a decision I thought was going to be made coming up this past, maybe it's tomorrow, that they're going to meet and
it's tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
Yes.
And with a decision on whether or not, under these circumstances of what's going on, whether or not they want to move forward with a November measure on this whole $1 billion investment for the Southwest Corridor and so on. So we'll see how this plays out.
So the next one.
It's the whole transportation
package
bond measure.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying. It's a continuation of the old plus some extra dollars.
Now, the only thing about that, and Mike, this is for you as well, if in fact they decide that they don't want to move forward with the bond measure for this November, those dollars that they identified for the study for the 99 West will be impacted by this truth. Is that a true statement, you think?
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. And that's another consideration. I don't know what they're going to end up doing, but if that bond measure does not get on the November ballot, then there's a possibility that the funding that we've been talking about for the study for a plan for Highway 99 West could be impacted by this, I think.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
yes.
I did get the Tax and Finance Committee to include a recommendation to change the rules for those grant dollars, and that hopefully will get into a bill so that they would be able to give dollars from the legislature to studies such as the 99 West Corridor.
That was the other piece of it, because there was money that we went all to, Mike and I went to Salem and lobbied for funding from the legislature.
Right.
And then the other piece of it would have come from Metro. So we'll see how all of this
Well, I did my best.
I know you did. I did. Yeah. Okay. Small city group. That's Micah, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got Micah and Smart on the small cities right now.
Micah, you still good with that?
Yeah, that one still works for me.
Okay. Let's Micah and Smart.
We need to think about ways we can get our new Commissioner Thompson into some of these as well. So keeping that in mind as we move forward.
Well, let's do this.
I'm interested in the LOC. Maybe could Shauna do an alternate with me?
Sure.
First of all, let's back up. Shauna has no idea what this small cities group is. Can somebody define it for her? I'm making that assumption.
Sure.
You are correct.
So the small cities are basically the small cities in the metro region. But, you know, for Shauna's purposes, I mean, Shauna just coming in, I think I agree with what Councilor Fender was just saying. I think the LOC would be a better exposure for her and get her feet a little wet faster. The small cities only meet about once a quarter, and it's usually us, Estacada, maybe
North Plains.
Yeah, North Plains.
If we're lucky, we get 3 cities that participate. I think
It's
in
pretty small, and you know, I would recommend you go more for LOC.
And what is LOC?
The League of Oregon Cities.
Okay.
What's the
Now,
role there?
Those are the committees. They meet only in the even year in the spring. That's what I was just involved in and have reported to council. And what they do is develop policies for each policy committee with proposals for changes in legislation that goes to the board, goes out for a vote to all the cities, and then becomes part of legislation that is lobbied by the League of Oregon Cities.
Okay.
And I was the only counselor from King City. I was on the Transportation Committee and the Tax and Finance Committee. I would really like to see a commitment to, this would be in 2022, to have a couple of other counselors on some of these other policy committees.
Yes. Okay, let's do this. Let's get Jamie and Shauna involved in this one. And there will be a lot of learning that will take place on what actually their role will be and what they will be expected to do.
Sounds good.
And I'll stay as the primary?
I think...
Because I can do some mentoring.
Yes. Well, I think I want them to learn it. So...
Yeah. But we need coverage of several committees.
Okay, so let's just put Thompson and Fender there, and we will still spread the wealth on how we cover the broad base. Okay?
Does the alternative?
Hey, Ronnie, I thought I was going to be primary, but I guess it doesn't matter since we need coverage for, it sounds like a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, let's
multiple committees.
Let's put Jamie as the primary and Shauna as the alternate.
There we go.
Okay. Good. Now, what's the town hall meetings for congressional delegates?
So I've got open to all, basically, is what we did last time.
Yeah.
So that's basically all the town halls with, you know, Merkley, Bonamici,
Courtney Neron.
Yeah, Neron, those sort of things. So.
Yeah.
I go to those whenever I possibly can. And
yeah, me too.
Well, we've all been participating now, and it's so much easier to do it via Zoom. So
right.
Can we just put all?
Yeah, I think you should just put all, right?
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the next one's Metro Council. Meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I've got Councilor Boehner as primary and Mayor Gibson as the alternate.
Let's leave it at that for now, okay?
That's fine with me.
You know, I just hope that we will get to the point where we will have an option of not having to drive downtown at 5:30 in the evening. I think that the Zoom will last for a while longer, and I hope.
I'm UE, Ronnie.
Oh, BUE.
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess, once we do start, I would be interested in attending some of those Metro Council meetings as well when we're back to normal life, right? It's easy for me because my office is right there across. I think we should leave it, but
No, let's do this then. I hear you.
Yeah.
Why don't we put you as the alternate now?
Okay.
And then when those meetings start kicking up, you can start participating in them. Now, Gretchen, have they met at all?
They're meeting by Zoom.
Okay, so Jamie, you can get involved in the Zoom meetings right away.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and I think that would be the appropriate thing to do.
Jamie, they have a workshop on Tuesday afternoons at like 1:30, and their business meetings are on Thursday afternoons. So they're right in the middle of your workday, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's the way.
Some days I can probably attend, some days I won't. This would depend on my schedule.
That sounds good. Yep. All right, let's see what else do we have.
Let's see. So the next is Washington County Transportation Options. That's one that I usually go to at the same time I do the WCCC TAC.
Okay.
The Greater Portland Inc. is the next one down the line. We have.
That is me. And at this point, Mike, you have been the alternate.
Right.
So, it's really looking for business opportunities for the region. They may play a bigger role as we start building out for the UGB. So what's the L?
That's where I'm at right now. I don't know what the L stands for, but
Liaison.
What's that?
Liaison.
Liaison. Oh.
So Ken, I'm really interested. I was really interested in West Side Economic Alliance. I don't know if so that's something I'd be kind of really interested in doing, but I don't know which one has greater impact. I mean,
Well, this is the way it's been working, is that I'm a member. Mike, you're a member, is that right?
That's correct.
And then we sign up for the breakfast forums and all of those things. Okay. So, Mike.
Yeah, the trick would be with the West Side Economic Alliance. That's the problem is when we signed up the mayor and I as the representatives for the organization. So we sign up. We could add members. But then it adds to the annual fee.
No, I think it makes sense to leave it like that. And then if there's a special event or something, then you guys can bring me as a guest.
Well, yeah, and look,
I'm interested as well. I have been interested, but I've not said anything because I know the cost is relatively high.
And I think we can add guests for like $50
right
table as long as there's space available.
If there's something interesting that comes up, then maybe that's the route to take it.
And I think it is a good thing. I think your point is well taken, and we just have to determine. And if there's something that you really want to participate in, we need to find a way to have any one of you participate in one of those forums. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They are, by the way, rebroadcast on cable access.
Okay.
Within about a week after they happen.
Okay. And annually they do the mayor's forum.
Yep.
Did one not long ago. And so it is. I mean, it's a good organization, good program. The
So-
only difference now is you don't get the breakfast.
All
They
right,
should be reducing the price, right?
What's that?
Shouldn't they reduce the price because there's no breakfast involved?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we still pay our annual dues.
What? And there's no hotel, there's no room that they have to rent?
Yeah, maybe the registration Zoom fee is less. We still pay our annual fee on that stuff. So
Okay.
backing up one step, though, I want to look at Greater Portland Inc. And if you can identify one of the counselors as the alternate, leave me as the liaison.
I'd be interested in that.
Yeah. Okay.
Jamie, make sure you're not over committing yourself.
Thank you, Gretchen. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, and the way this meets basically is the second Wednesday. Sometimes it's on Thursday. And let me just tell you, Jamie, that this started moving around because they were trying to get Mayor Wheeler of Portland involved, and Wednesdays were a problem for him, so we started doing them on Thursday. But I think we're back to Wednesday now, but it all been on Zoom anyway. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
And it's
I
all-
suspect, honestly, with how with going forward, I think a lot of these meetings are going to remain with Zoom because it is just so much easier for people who are working to attend.
Well,
I can take my lunch break at 1:30 instead of at noon and attend a meeting by Zoom easily. So,
and I'm advocating for it.
yeah,
They've already asked,
good,
do we think we need to stay with Zoom for the rest of the year?
right.
Some of these meetings, and I'm saying absolutely, there's no reason to expose anybody when we don't have to, and this is in fact working.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. When it cuts down cost as well. I mean, it makes sense.
Saving the doggone environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right.
West Side Economic Alliance, we covered, and the Metro JPAC transportation.
So right now I've got Ken as primary and Jamie as alternate.
Yeah.
Mix that up.
Let's leave that at the way it is.
It would really be nice to get one of the newer counselors to be an alternate on both of that and for MPAC.
I think she's talking about you, Shauna.
No, and Counselor Pratt. I mean, he hasn't gotten his name on very many things, so I think it would be good.
Dave, you hear what's going on here?
I hear you.
Would you be willing to be an alternate on one of those committees? JPAC meets at 7:30 in the morning, if you're a morning person. MPAC is at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
You can put me down for JPAC. I'm not sure what that does. Maybe
That's
you could
the
explain it.
transportation planning.
For any of these that we can put the full definition of what the acronym is, please let's update it.
Well, yeah, we'll work on that.
Okay.
Okay, and then so we have the MPAC next, Metro Policy Advisory
And
Committee.
I'm the primary for that because I'm the alternate other cities rep regionally.
I'd be
Yeah.
happy
For the county.
on that one.
Okay.
Micah is alternate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was previously you, Mayor, but
Yeah, let's. I'm fine with that. Okay, thank you, Micah and Gretchen.
Water Consortium.
That's-
I think that's the
That's
carryover.
different from the water board.
Okay, this group meets 3 times a year, usually at the Metro, in the Metro Council Chamber. It's electeds plus all kinds of water special districts. And they look at big policy issues, regarding conservation, but also emergency preparation. While I was on it, Tigard, there was a lot of discussions because the Japanese earthquake and the New Zealand earthquake occurred during that time. And so every year they get at least one big presentation on preparing for the Cascadia earthquake or the fault in the West Hills crashing and burning, which is the same type as what happened in New Zealand.
All right, let's get some new blood on this one.
Yes, absolutely.
Who do we have?
I'd be interested, either primary or alternate.
I'd be interested.
Okay.
It's an evening meeting, guys.
Okay.
So.
All right. So we have Jamie and Shauna. Thank you, guys. All right.
In February, June, and October.
Okay, great. Okay, this is an important one. I think it's Smart, the primary for the Edgewater.
He is, and I think we need to keep it that way.
Okay.
Oh, did you guys change it up?
Oh, was it me?
Yeah, it was you. But
I think we need to have Smart. I go to all of the HOA meetings for the most part. So I'm there anyway, but I think to have Smart be there
as a
good idea.
Yeah.
I've got Smart for Edgewater, Dave for Highland, Gretchen for Garden Villa, and
KCCA, since I'm the only one who lives in KCCA.
That's so Castle Oak South is open, and Rivers Edge I have Smart as well. But if Smart wants to do Edgewater, then maybe we need volunteers for Castle Oak South and Rivers Edge.
If someone,
I don't even know where Castle Oak South is.
It's next to Edgewater.
Yeah, if someone can connect me with whoever the contact is with those, with either one of those, I'd be happy to attend.
For the Castle Oaks.
You put Councilor Paulson in for Castle Oak South and Rivers Edge. And then Micah will get you contact information.
You guys are also missing Roseberry.
That's correct.
But
yeah, I think they meet once a year.
They meet infrequently, but I'm happy to be the Roseberry liaison.
Okay.
In there, Ronnie.
Ronnie, you want to add the Highlands in there?
Oh yeah, Highlands isn't there.
Oh. Well, you're on my list, Dave.
Who might that be?
I will probably attend.
I think Dave is a great candidate for the Highlands.
I second that.
Okay, and
doing Roseberry.
Tender.
Where is Roseberry?
It is.
Isn't that narrow street?
Yeah, it's Montague, and they have one little tiny dog park type little space. Their meetings are very contentious.
Okay, well, you can handle it.
I can. I like to go.
Okay.
So CPO 4K, we have Councilor Fender and Councilor Boehner. Good with that?
Yes, I'm perfectly willing to continue. I try to go to every meeting.
Yeah, have Gretchen be primary, and I'll be alternate. I try to make all of the meetings, but
okay, and you know that Mike and
I always go to that.
Yeah, and we always attend when necessary.
Yeah.
If there's something on the agenda that we need to be there for, we will definitely be there.
Yeah, I'd recommend you put Councilor Platt as the alternate there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, put Dave there, and then I go as frequently as I can.
And Councilor Thompson, I think you should start going.
Okay.
I think you'd learn a lot.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm not really sure what it is, but okay.
It's the citizen part. Call me.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, thank you, Gretchen.
It meets the fourth Monday each month at the Highlands Clubhouse.
Okay.
Donna, before you get involved in any conversations, come talk with me and I.
Yes, or me.
Because there's a very thin line that we are walking as a city, and we want to make sure that our messaging is on point.
Yes.
Okay.
And-
Maybe I should just come as an observer first.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, this is very
And
important.
they won't know who you are.
Right, exactly.
But once they know who you are, they will try to suck you in
Oh,
Yes.
conversations.
Give
Okay?
you misinformation,
Yeah.
give you slides, and
Give
try
me
to.
a call,
okay.
Donna.
Okay. All right. So, so who has the information for Micah on Castle Oaks, River Edge, and Road for those two?
I think we have HOA contacts here in the city, so we'll send them over.
Okay. All right. And I want all of you to know that it is still my desire to have meetings with the presidents of these HOAs. We had one meeting last month, a Zoom meeting, and we had some participation, which was good. KCCA was there, Garden Villa, and the Highlands, but we were not able to lock down Edgewater or River Edge or Roseberry.
Yeah, we need to get another one with them
Yes.
scheduled.
Ronnie, we do need to schedule another Zoom meeting with the HOA presidents, okay?
Okay, when do you want that?
As soon as possible.
Okay, so the 28th, maybe?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, you, whatever works. I'll make myself available. I don't know, yeah, the 28th in the evening would be ideal.
Okay, I'll see if I can round that up.
Okay,
I would like to be in on the call if I could, Ken,
yeah, I mean, it's not
Me
closed.
too.
It
since
is
I'm the liaison to multiple.
It is not closed to the council, but
Yeah,
I want to be able to do that, okay?
yeah. No, you're preaching to the choir here.
Okay,
In fact, I think it's a good idea to have Dave, Micah, myself, and Smart attend that meeting,
oh, I agree.
right? I
I
mean,
agree.
yeah.
Yep, we will make that happen, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, is that it?
Good.
I think so.
Okay, all right, let's move on to our report outs. Any questions or concerns about this? Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys volunteering. And I am, every step of the way, I'm going to advocate for doing Zoom meetings wherever we can.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want us to have to get out there on that road and sit shoulder to shoulder with anybody, okay? Okay. Who's Gary Woods?
A resident, if I'm not mistaken.
That's fun.
He's joined us in the meantime.
Well, hello, Gary.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Before we move on, did you have something that you wanted to ask of us or a comment?
Well, I apologize for not reading very well because I thought the meeting was at 7. So I wanted to just start hearing what's going on. I'm hearing about Edgewater business and I want to know what's going on. I'm fairly new in the community, so just want to know what's happening. And I live on Fisher Road and I'm hearing things about Fisher Road. So I want to know what's happening and be involved.
Now, Gary, that's a very loaded question. You know, we could talk about those things all night long. But
I went to one of the county meetings when they talked about it, and they didn't talk about it very much. And so I decided now I'd start listening in, see what's happening. So that's why I'm here. So I don't know much, so I can't comment much. So I'm just being quiet. Listening.
okay, well, thanks for joining us. This is what we need. You know, there's very specific things that are going on. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to be involved in what's going on with Fisher Road and the expansion. So, but it is too much to have that conversation right now.
Sure.
If you have anything specific about something else that we can address right away, were you at the meeting that for the rest of the Edgewater community?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any question regarding that? I'm in Edgewater. Jamie is in Edgewater. Smarter Choli, Shauna Thompson, all those counselors, and Micah Paulson. We all live in Edgewater.
I knew that you did, and I appreciated Jamie putting on that the information that was shared at the meeting wasn't accurate about King City Council and the trees. So I thought, well, that was good. I got concerns about how things can be, I can get a thing like you did in the mail with a huge increase without anybody being aware of it. No budget given ahead of time, no time for discussion.
Right.
I just don't think that's the way things are done. And
that was not our doing.
No, it's not. And
so it needs to be addressed and taken care of, whether you get a new board or whatever. Something needs to be changing, and my neighbors are really upset about it, and I am too. So I'm going to pay attention more closely.
We want to make sure that our community now understands that there's a clear separation between what the city's responsibility is versus the HOA. And the city has nothing to do with raising your or my fees for the HOA service. I heard, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I heard that there was a comment made that HOA dues are somehow tied to the maintenance of the community park, which is absolutely not true. The city has full responsibility for the maintenance of the park.
And we don't charge the HOA.
We don't. Okay.
But I also think it's an important distinction that the community understands that that is a municipal park. That is not an HOA park. And therefore it is open to the absolute public, right? And there's I think there's still a confusion because it sits within, geographically within the HOA. But that is a city park. The city maintains it, and it's free for absolutely everyone. Mm-hmm.
And the other point that I wanted to make, there was a question on the trees. Like the city didn't approach the HOA and tell them they had to go remove 200 trees. The HOA approached the city and requested permission to remove the city's 200 trees. And then the city was like, whoa, we need arborist reports, we need justification because these are city-owned trees. And there's a code requirement for the removal of any tree that's in the streets or that belongs to the city. And so we have to ask for arborist clarifications. We have to ask for, is this the least amount of activity necessary to accomplish the task and save the tree? And we cautioned them when they first approached us. We said, well, you might want to rethink this, because they came with a application, I think, to remove over 200 trees, like wipe out every tree in the subdivision. And so we were kind of like, I don't know about that. So now we are sitting in the middle, and we've heard that they've jacked everyone's HOA fees up, and we haven't done anything. We have nothing to do with it. So I don't know what's going on.
Jamie helped everybody to get that on next door, so appreciate that because I didn't know. I wasn't jumping on anybody's side. I'm just like, I know that my tree in front of my house had a white ribbon around it, and my sidewalk has not got any lift or anything in it, and I'm like, how come my tree's going to get torn out?
Yeah, because it didn't meet the qualifications for a nuisance.
So I didn't want my tree to be ripped out, and most of the people that I've talked to in Edgewater did not want to. And then who's making these decisions? So I think there's a major issue that Edgewater is going to face here right away. There's a new petition that's going to be signed by hopefully 131 different households in Edgewater, and things are going to come to a head at the big meeting on the 3rd. So I hope that some of the King City people will be there.
Yeah. And Gary, and to that point, we have requested to be on the agenda at that meeting, and right? There's a lot of confusion that has been discussed. We've asked to be added to the meeting to clarify. I think we always try to have a representative from the city at every HOA meeting. So, you know, we've asked previously to be put on the agenda for every meeting, because there's also a lot of updates that people in the neighborhood just naturally want to get about city business, that's a good opportunity to date. The board has not put us on the agenda. They don't like mixing kind of the information, but most of us who attend the HOA meetings, we stay afterwards to answer questions. And I think with what we have seen recently, I'm going to ask again that we just make it an agenda item at each HOA meeting, that someone from the city is there to answer questions, right? Because there's just too much misinformation that's getting spread around, which causes concern for everyone, right?
And we don't need any fake news.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Thank you. I'm just sitting here being quiet, trying to be quiet, but I have some concerns. So I thought better to be concerned and understand what's happening than to be concerned and just pass on what somebody tells me.
Absolutely. We want, you know, we wish we could get 100 participants at our city council meetings every night, right? Or every meeting, right? So.
Well, it may happen, because I think Edgewater HOA meetings are going to be fuller than they used to be.
I agree.
And I just usually stay home because I'm past 65 and a little bit on the vulnerable side, and I don't go out. But I went out for the meeting with my mask, staying 6 feet apart, just because I wanted to be apart and let people know that I wasn't happy about the increase.
We have also asked them to make the meeting on August 3rd by Zoom because of that, the issues with the fact that this is not a time to have 100 people together in the park. And it's my understanding that they are going to do that. So you should be looking forward to an email from Erica that will confirm that. It's my understanding. I don't want to speak for her because I haven't seen it in writing yet, but that is my understanding. So
I wrote to Erica and asked her if there was some way we could just freeze all the major projects that's in that new budget, and until after the meeting when things got sorted out. And she said they were putting things on pause, whatever that means. So
good.
Anyway.
But Gary, also, let me explain that, you know, all of us have reached out to Erica now. You know, Jamie spoke to her, I spoke to her today, and I think she's been very responsive to what we're talking about doing on this whole issue surrounding the trees. Mike Weston, our city manager, Erica, and Steve, the president of the HOA, all met with Octavio, who is the superintendent for the landscapers, to make sure that we were all on the same page on these things. We're also trying to periodically meet with the presidents of all of the HOAs that we have in King City, and there are many. There's several of them. You just heard us talking about some of those. We want to be involved. We want them to understand where the city is on all of these issues versus where the HOA. We have to support one another. And I think we can do a lot better job of that. Now, for any rate increase and all those kind of things, Erica made it clear that she can't do any of that without the board's approval. But the city is not involved in that at all.
No, I didn't think so.
That is not a city responsibility, and it has to be clear cut and clearly understood that we have no involvement in that, okay? And this board, this committee, this council is bound and determined to give the King City residents the best of the best, and that we're trying to protect, but we also have rules and regulations that we all have to abide by, and that's what we're really talking about doing. So, but we're here to support. We're not here to just create chaos. There's enough of that going on in the world, okay?
Oh, that's for sure. But it seems like nobody knew except for 3 or 4 people. And then nobody had heard about a roundabout project until the other night. And then all of a sudden, like, we're going to knock the roundabout down. So all these things are coming up, and I just want to be a part and hear what's happening. That's all. I'm not a rabble rouser.
No. I appreciate that. But Erica committed to us, and I think, Jamie, you're aware of this as well, is that she is going to put out a detailed list of information that will clarify most of this stuff. She had to get approval from the board, the HOA board, to be able to send that letter out to all the residents to try to clarify these concerns, okay? So we look forward to getting that. As a resident, I want to see it also. I want to know exactly why it's costing me all of this money, you know?
Right.
We did submit a landscape plan for the roundabout. So with that landscape plan, what they were talking about doing is replacing some of the vegetation on the roundabout and changing it up a little bit. And I do believe that that was looked at by our engineers and our land use concept planner and approved just like last week. So
and I guess for the benefit of everyone, let me just kind of catch everyone up just super quickly. So in the Edgewater community, the Edgewater HOA dues were increased without warning over 63%. And even kind of far higher, right? It kind of, but well over 60%. Letters were sent out. It was like our letter was dated July 7th, I believe, and it was retroactive to July 1. Funds had been taken out of individuals' houses, you know, that were on direct deposit. The community, I think it's safe to say, became very angry and had an impromptu meeting at the park to discuss concerns regarding not only the HOA fee increase, but concerns over what the money was going to, the budget, landscaping, ongoing landscaping issues within the community. Then at the meeting, statements were made by the HOA president, and that in kind of either directly or in other times indirectly kind of passed on the rate increase onto certain activities of the city. So for example, there were statements made that it had to do with the city's requiring of some trees to be removed and, you know, sidewalks being repaired or not being repaired, fees that were going to go, HOA fees to maintain the park, you know, some just kind of a variety of statements that just are not accurate. And so the mayor and I discussed kind of right after that meeting. We emailed the management company with our concerns over the statements, the, you know, misunderstanding. And then the official HOA, there's kind of been an official meeting that's been called on August 3rd to kind of try to clarify all of these things. And so just for everyone's benefit, that's kind of what we're talking about. I will say, Mike, that just in reading the comments on Nextdoor, there does seem to be a confusion about the roundabout, in that I think a lot of people believe the entire roundabout is supposed to be removed. And that's another point that we need to kind of clarify, that I think that they're trying to you know, lower the sight line because kids have been playing in the roundabout, and they want to change the vegetation. There is concern that the line item for that project is about $116,000. That seems an extreme amount of money to remove some vegetation. So I think we do also need to make sure that we're all on the same page as to what's supposed to happen on that roundabout with that huge of a budget line item.
But Jamie, I think that Erica was planning on clarifying that in a letter to all residents, so that everybody would know what they've been talking about doing and what the board has approved to be done. Right. And then, as Mike just said, that their city had to be involved in a piece of this based on the recommendation from the board. Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely right, but there has been communication going on, but not with the residents.
Right, exactly. So there's just general confusion. So at the next meeting, we'll have a little update as to the next.
Okay, so Gary, did that help at all to kind of understand where we stand and where there has been confusion and what we're trying to do to resolve the confusion?
Yeah, and I think Jamie had helped me before. I didn't come on with any problems with the city. I have problems with the HOA, and I think a lot of people do. So
Mhm.
I think if something's going to happen and they're going to spend my money, I should know something about it before they do it. So I think
Absolutely. I'm on the same page with you.
we're all in it together. So anyway, we just need to get word around for people to. I think it's much easier to have a meeting on Zoom. So sorry, I just dialed in late. So
Oh, no apologies. I'm glad I noticed that you were there. So this was a good conversation and I truly appreciate it. Okay.
Well, thank you for including me. I just want to learn some things here and intended to come before now, but I just haven't. So I'm now going to be coming.
Good.
Well,
We welcome.
I would hope that more of our residents do this. I mean, this is very convenient. And if there are questions, this is the place to get some of those questions answered rather than conversation going back and forth on next door when, you know, I'm not going to participate in that. This is what I participate in so that we can have these real conversations. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. With that being said, let's go through our report outs. Mike, you can go first.
Well, it's actually up to Ernie if he has anything that he wants to report. Ernie, you have anything?
Just that I see that National Night Out's been officially canceled for this year.
Yeah.
And so that'll be a 2021 event, hopefully, that anything going on. We're officially down manpower-wise, down one with Cody's exit a week ago. And so Brian filling a lot of shifts. I'm filling a few. Hopefully Pat will be back in August to kind of stem the tide of that overtime hours. And with the uptick in the COVID, we'll be buying a lot more supplies again. We were already in the process of doing that and just stocking, but now we're going to overstock as much as we can just because there's just no idea where this is going right now. And that's about it.
Ernie, you got the word that we do have a scheduled meeting for the 28th, I believe it is.
I thought it was 21st, but
21st, yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's next Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
Next Tuesday at noon, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah.
And just for the council's information, this is going to be a meeting with the police force and me. Mike will be there, but we have some things that we need to discuss. You know, everybody is concerned about the whole conversation about police reform. I have not had an opportunity to really sit down with the police force and let them know what my positions are on these things. And this whole conversation about defunding, what does that mean? You know, and all of those things are in the forefront of their minds because of the attention that is getting. The attention that is getting is real and it's for the right reasons. But I owe the police department an opportunity to sit down and have a real conversation with me about how I feel about some of the things that are going on, not only as the mayor, but as a Black man. And I think it's important for us to have that kind of real conversation. And that's what we're going to do next week.
Great.
Okay. So thank you, Ernie. I hope you had a good vacation.
Pictures look good, Ernie.
I did. I'm finding my retirement home. So I added a new city. Cody, Wyoming kind of grew on me too. So
okay, well, you won't be retiring for any time soon. You got too many things to do here.
You're right. My wife's still got 10 years to go, but I could go in 2 if I want.
Okay, well, I wish you the best.
Thank
okay,
you.
Thank you, Ernie. Mike, what do you got?
Well, you know, Ken kind of touched on it, and we've been dealing with, you know, a national situation that's kind of come home to roost, and we've been trying to deal with the fallout of that and how that affects our employees and how it affects their home lives, and trying to take a stance on opening up some communication lines and trying to deal with some of this stuff in-house. So we're happy that the mayor's volunteered his time to come in and chat with us, and hopefully, broaden our minds a little bit and give us some perspective. So hopefully we'll see that happen in the next week or so. Beyond that,
if I can real quick, Mike, and this is actually something that just for everybody, Ken and I have had this discussion a few times, and over the last year or two, and so it's something that is long overdue, and something that the timing just presented itself, and we've actually had a couple of conversations about it real recently, and so I'm glad that we're doing this, and so just so everybody knew that this is something that Ken has talked about, and something that all of a sudden we just finally said the time is right, and so it's a much needed conversation to help hopefully just quiet everything down a little bit.
Put a lot of concerns to rest, hopefully. We also have, just the ongoing stressors of everything going on with the COVID-19, quarantine stuff, all the rules and regulations that are coming at us, the timelines for the grant turnarounds, for CARES Act funds. It's just been a lot to take in. So, it's taking its toll on the staff and management, and, boiling to the surface, if you will. So
our backlogs are quite long.
So we are trying to figure out ways of dealing with this stuff, and, we're feeling the stress of it. So that's about where we're at on that. We have the master planning work is underway. I mentioned that earlier with the scoping piece, although I was breaking up and I'm not sure everyone heard everything about that.
The fourth time we did.
Yeah, on the fourth time, right. Is the TSP, there's some stuff that I have to review. There's a land use based conditions report that's out now that's up on Baseline. I need to go check that out, and I get through that by the end of the week. But that's progressing, and we're about ready to start our public outreach and communications. So Mr. Woods, in response to your question regarding Fisher Road's future and all those things that are associated with Fisher Road, the TSP, Transportation System Planning, that will be a good forum to have some candid conversations in regards to what's coming down the pipe and what's going to be essentially dictated to us by outside agencies when we look at the future growth and development of the city. A lot of that is, how do we grow responsibly, and how do we prevent our growth from affecting the major arterials around us, and those are going to be Beef Bend, Highway 99, and Roy Rogers. And so part of our conversation throughout the concept planning and through our transportation analysis previously is how can we grow without causing failures of those intersections. And so that's where the Fisher Road connection became a concept, and that's where it's been vetted, and it still has a long way to go on what that looks like and where those connections are, but it's called out in our concept plan for Fisher Road connection. Now, whether that's 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, I don't know when that connection actually occurs, but that's what the TSP will hopefully walk out. That's my update. We've had the census folks here on Wednesdays. They were here today, and they'll probably be here next Wednesday. So anyways, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, let's start with Dave up at the top right corner. Dave, do you have anything?
I would just like to go on record that I am absolutely 100% against defunding the police. And I just applaud Ernie and everything he's doing with our police department, and you guys have my full support. And beyond that, Michael and Ronnie, you guys hang in there. I know this is a tough time and you're going through some difficult things. And we just are 100% behind supporting you as well. And beyond that, I don't have anything else to report right at this point.
But Dave, let me say this, and I just want you to know my position on this. I think they've absolutely used the wrong term in what they're talking about doing. It is not about defunding police, and people see that, oh, we're going to disband police forces and all that kind of stuff. That's not what this is about. I think what people are talking about, and it should be made clear, and they're going to have to come up with another way of describing this. What we're talking about, I think, in a lot of ways, police have been asked to do too much. And when we start talking about how do we distribute the funding so that police do police work, there need to be funds for health, mental health services, and there need to be funds for doing these other things that we have piled on these responsibilities for our police officers. And I think that's really what the issue is right now. Let's let police officers do police work, but we need to find funding to be able to take care of the homeless and mental health crises that's going on in all of these cities. And I think that is a better explanation in my mind than to just throw this word out, defund police, because I don't think that is anything that I would ever buy into, because I think that's absolutely a mistake. So, but I do want our police officers to understand that we're not talking about taking away their responsibility or downsizing or giving away the responsibility as a police officer, but I think our officers need help. They need support, and to try to get the right kind of funding for some of these other things that really, truly shouldn't be a police officer's responsibility. So
I support that entirely.
Okay. That's my position at this time. So,
yeah.
But thank you, David. Okay, let's go with Jamie.
All right. So, quite a few updates. So, I had organized a ribbon cutting ceremony for our new Dairy Queen, which Mayor Gibson came to, and Councilor Gretchen Boehner came to as well. It was, it was cute. It's hard to have a big, fun, fancy ribbon cutting during COVID. So everyone wore masks, and it was quick, and there was already a huge line of people by the time we got out of there. But I think it's important to support and celebrate our new businesses when they come into town, and they have been booming. That little Dairy Queen's booming, so that's great.
That was good.
Yesterday, on Monday, Brian, a resident of the Highlands named Lucian Phillips, Ronnie, and Pollard is what the officer who does the IT work. Officer Pollard, is that his name?
Pollard.
Jeremy, that's right. So we had a meeting to discuss emergency preparedness in King City. Lucien worked at FEMA for a million years and is extremely knowledgeable. We wanted to get the discussion going. There's been a lot that we've learned through this COVID experience, but I think there's a lot that we can still do to kind of help all of the residents prepare better. What we kind of identified was we really want to lean on the HOAs to take on this project and create kind of mini committees within the HOA. So we identified some tasks that we're all going to work on and then meet again in another month. So I don't have too much to report other than I think we're off to a really good start, and once we have more to kind of rope you all individually in, we'll be doing that. But it's going to be a really good project. So that's that. The King City Community Foundation has organized a business-to-business networking event That's going to be a Zoom meeting from noon to 1 on July 28th. You are all going to get a invitation. Mayor Gibson is going to be an honored guest. We've had a lot of RSVPs come in already. And so I think the aim to kind of create a more networking opportunity amongst the King City businesses is going to be a really good one. So you can all look for an invitation here in the next few days.
So Jamie,
the date was what?
It is July 28th at noon to 1.
is Viva still on?
I think she left.
Okay. Well, I want to say thanks to her for the effort that she put into this, trying to pull it together. And this is something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. And so I'm excited about it. And I think with the kind of things that we see going on now with Kate participating in trying to figure out how to have a better community alliance with our businesses is going to be worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that Viva understands that I truly appreciate what she's done in pulling this together.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. I'll pass that along to her. And she did ask me before she signed off that if there are additional businesses that any of the counselors want to invite, then feel free, to kind of do that. I think right now we used the King City business permits as our kind of base of who to invite. So there's probably naturally boundary businesses that should be invited that maybe we just don't know about. So I call on all of you to send the KCCA or send Viva directly. You should have her email because she's on the planning commission, but send her an email but she's on the budget committee. Any suggestions that you might have.
Okay.
All right, I have two more updates. Okay.
Jamie, excuse me, before you leave that, what time is it on the 28th?
Noon to 1 p.m.
Okay, I apologize in advance. I'm moderating a national panel and can't participate.
No problem. I'll pass that on to Viva, but she might already know. But thank you, Gretchen. Okay, two more kind of updates. Courtney Naron and I have taken the zombie house up on Beef Bend Road, which is directly across from Deer Creek Elementary, as a pet project that she and I would like to go, we would like to focus on. And so we have obtained kind of a current update of what's going on at that property. For those of you that don't know, the current owner is in bankruptcy, and I am going to determine at what stage in bankruptcy they are. So it could be depending on the bankruptcy, it could be a very long process or it could be a short one. Then once the property is foreclosed and handed back over to the bank, there is a lot of opportunity for us to get some movement to at least have the banks be forced in, or the bank owner forced into securing the building and making it slightly less of an eyesore. Obviously, once the bank has owned it, it's going to likely be for sale and be developed and so forth. Mike, it might be interesting for you and I and Courtney to kind of talk about that. I think we wanted to have a conversation with you, so I'll circle back around about future possibilities. But
Jamie, I'd like to participate. I have some experience in dealing with these kinds of things, as I know you do.
Yeah, I do. That's part of defending banks against the forces of counties and cities. I did a lot of that work, so it would be fun to be on the other end of it.
I was representing lenders.
Yep. Okay. So then the last kind of update is the King City Community Foundation had a few weeks ago brought in a food truck down to the park. Some of you I know attended. It was a very well received event within the community. People really enjoyed being able to walk and go buy their dinner and go home and do it safely. And it was a great opportunity to support a local micro business. We invited back the Taco King since they had been so successful, and they were going to be at the park tomorrow night. Given, the recent kind of uptick in COVID and, the recent executive orders, I wanted to get a little bit of the temperature of the council about what we felt about having a food truck down at the park, having people wear masks and encourage social distancing, but knowing that, right, none of us are going to be down there necessarily policing it. We are still asking people to self-regulate and do what they need to do. From my understanding, at the last event, everyone had, kept distance and did the things that they really needed to. And the Taco King food truck, has also been monitoring. They've been in a few places where they were required to stand there and administer distance and so forth. So they're willing to work with us. I rescheduled it to next Thursday so that we could have this conversation tonight. I think previously I spoke to Mike and Ken, and I don't believe they have concern with continuing this event and seeing if, right, we can continue. If we continue the good safety protocols, I think it seems like we can continue. But I wanted to put it out to the council as a whole, because this is something I think we want to do every week, maybe every 2 weeks throughout the summer, and it's a good way to support some businesses. So does anyone have strong feelings against having the food truck down at the park on one evening a week and requiring people wear masks and social distance in our advertising? Okay, so I'm going to take that as we don't have concerns, so you can look forward. Next Thursday, we'll have the Taco King. We're going to have a Hawaiian food vendor come, hopefully either the week after that or the following week. I know that Kate has in with the Kona Kona Ice snow cone truck, so hopefully we can get them to come down and maybe offer dessert. So I'll make sure that you guys get the flyers for those events so that if you want to come down, you can buy some dinner. And I think that is all of my updates tonight.
Yeah, and I think this is wonderful, and it's all about supporting the small businesses and trying to give them some more opportunities. I went down there for the first one, and it was I didn't buy anything, but I think that the people who were there and participated really appreciated being there.
When they sold, I think within an hour, let's see, they were there because we've extended the hours a little bit, but they sold just a little over 100 entrees. Mm-hmm. And so for them, in that short amount of time, it's a lot of food to sell, and that's great because they are one of our staple 4th of July vendors, and they make a huge killing on 4th of July at our festival. So it was a disappointment.
Okay.
The food was amazing.
Yeah, their tacos are really good. Yeah.
It was delicious.
I love tacos.
Well, there you go, Ken. Next Thursday.
All right. Mike, do you want to talk about that opportunity for the ice cream giveaway, or is that too soon to talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about it. Basically, the South County cities were awarded a $250,000 CARE Act funds to divvy up between us or figure out how to mutually come together to improve the psyche of the communities. It basically boils down to about $2.50 per person areas. So I don't know what we can really do with that much money. But what we are considering is possibly like an ice cream giveaway, and with that, like a COVID-19 health brochure and some PPE like face masks and things of that nature to hand out. We still have people that don't have face masks out there, so it'd be nice to provide some of that material for them, and it's covered by Federal CARES Act dollars. So.
Okay, and that's a couple of dollars per person based on your population?
Yeah, and we're thinking that we probably won't be able to reach everybody, but you know, we could probably get a lot of ice cream for $250,000.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like it. It's a good idea. I hope I'm available so I don't miss it. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go with Shauna over here.
Hi.
Hi, Shauna.
What I wanted to ask earlier when I was waving was, I understand that it must be really overwhelming for the staff. Is there any money? Are there funds to bring on a temporary employee to help out?
Know where we get it. So we could potentially hire somebody and then try to get reimbursed for that.
Through the CARES Act?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know if they'd actually reimburse us for it. We could try. It's a risk, and we're already facing reduced revenues from the lockdown and the quarantine stuff. So it'd be going out on a limb to hopefully get reimbursed for it. So it's risky.
I can't hear you. Sorry. I think Gretchen's phone maybe went to her.
No, it wasn't me.
Well, let's mute who's not talking.
So basically, it's risky is my general consensus on that, because we don't know if we're going to get reimbursed for it or if it's going to be considered a reimbursable expense. And so we can try putting it out there, but there's a chance we lose on it.
Is there something that we can do to help?
Come on down. There is a lot of information on the Washington County webpage on the CARES Act stuff. And so what we've been able to do so far is try to put some of our expenses together and try to get those out the door. We've put one rendition out for the month of June. And I think at the end of July, we'll put out another one for the month of July. We put out a request for sanitation facilities at the park that hopefully will give us some potable running water and cleaning facilities and potentially a bathroom, like a one-stall bathroom down there. But that was like our engineers estimated that to be about $150,000. So we put that on the docket because in order for us to do day camps and things of that nature, we need sanitation facilities. Some of the other things that we put on are just expenses that our police are using, expenses that we're using here. And then some of the other things that we thought about in conversations with Roy Rogers is having a PPP, protective personnel equipment giveaway. So we purchase that equipment, we get reimbursed through the CARES Act, and then we hand it out to our businesses as a way of doing that. The other thing is CARES Act relief. We could look at like a grant program run through our office on maybe like a $3,000 small grant for as many businesses as we can get. I think we have a bucket of funds and we've been earmarked for about $80,000 to $100,000 on that, and trying to figure out how we can administer and disseminate those funds.
I guess more specifically, is there something that we can do to help support you as staff members? It sounds like there's just a lot of extra work on your plates right now, and I'm assuming you don't get paid overtime. So how can we help you?
A lot of sorting. So like a lot of it's just, we have to go through all the information that's flowing out of Washington County and the governor's office and try to figure out what's applicable to us, right? We get these blurbs from Washington County or, email correspondence from representatives of Washington County that's like, hey, there's this available, but we don't know what our niche is, right? So digging through each and every one of those announcements and then figuring out what our angle is or what our niche is, it just takes more personnel than we have. So,
well, Mike, and I think Sean is onto something. If it's possible, something to think about to have us volunteer as a clearinghouse for some of these things where you say, I got this email, this information is coming out, can you review it and determine where we need to go with this? You know, that would be a benefit. It takes some of the burden off you and Ronnie and whoever is receiving these emails to begin with. I mean,
there's also applications that go with them, Mayor.
Right.
Like, you know, it's not just the problem is if you're familiar with the information, then you should probably be the one that does the application.
Right.
Because for us, we have to familiarize ourselves and then do the application and familiarize ourselves to the level that we actually know what we're applying for and can articulate it in the narrative.
Right.
And that's where we're getting ourselves behind. Not to mention we have all the TSP and master plan and all that stuff that's going on at the same time. Like we have our regular work, then we have COVID-19 fire hose hitting us on one side. We have the race riots hitting us on the other side. And then we have CARES Act stuff flowing out of Washington County and the governor's office and new regulations on COVID coming up every day. And it is just a lot to take in. And I'm speaking for myself here, but I also know that, you know, Ernie and Brian have been, and Ronnie as well. And all of us, we're feeling a lot of stress right now.
Well, I understand. And we feel it, you know, but I think Shauna is trying to get the point across. If there is anything that we can do to help, you know, we're willing, you know, and I'm looking at all of us. I'm speaking for all of us at this point, you know. We are not going to let you guys continue to be burdened with some things that we can help you with. And we're willing, you know, so, and I know that it's difficult, but whatever that is, I would like for you guys to consider it and try to figure out what we can do to help you.
Well, I'll definitely share the burden and shoot some stuff your way.
Okay. All right. I mean, really, I mean, I think that it is necessary at this point. We don't know how long this is going to last. But you guys have done so much with so little to even get us to this point. You know, we have to step up now. It's time for us to step up and try to help you any way we can. Now, I know there are a lot of working people out here who have all of these other burdens and, you know, life and children and all of that. But you know, a little bit adds up to a lot if we can all participate.
I concur.
I think one of the, oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to tell Shauna, there's a lot of information out on the Washington County CARES Act page. All the stipulations on the grant guidelines, deadlines, what we can apply for, how it works. It's a mountain of information I haven't been able to sort all the way through. I've basically been getting tidbits here and there and trying to keep up with it. So you can have at it.
Yeah. So like I guess the main two things that we're kind of looking at is, I mean, really we need a grant writer in-house.
Yeah. Or just
even part-time, just to really go through all the information, apply. I mean, because each grant is completely different. You have the simplest ones from like the SCA, which is a 2-page grant, which we do every year. It's the easiest grant I've ever done. And then you have the Metro grants, which are usually 40 to 50 pages. And if your spacing is not correct, they'll deny it. I mean,
use the wrong font.
Yeah, use the wrong font. Thank you. And part of the other thing too is to help us out. If we can somehow find a grant to help us expand our financial systems, little things like that would help us out a lot. So we're not repeating the wheel per se.
Well, it would probably be a good idea to formulate a quick hit list of the kinds of things that you can use some help on. And then let's try to figure out who might be the best candidate to dive in and help along those lines, okay? And it's almost like I'm giving you another assignment, but this assignment is designed to say, can we gain some relief by
And that-
understanding those things that any one of us might be able to participate in to help out.
And that was part of the process in the last meeting when we did the volunteer stuff, you know, the policies and stuff like that. That is to help with some of this and try to maybe get somebody in here. I don't know how it's going to work with the COVID-19 stuff and getting somebody in here, but we might have to figure it out remotely.
Yeah. So can you put together a quick list of things that you could use some help on, and
Yeah.
let's try to figure out who can help and how we can help?
Yeah.
It seems like it'd be cool to put it out to the community and say, these are the things that we need your help with right now. Because there are a lot of people out there that want to help.
Yeah.
And there might be some people that have these skills, like grant writing skills and experience, that maybe they're retired, but they're looking for a way to help their community. So if there's a way that we can, you know, plug in to those people, to those talents, then we should.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, Mike, you good with that?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely fine with, you know, looking for help, especially with the grants and stuff and trying to keep up with this CARES Act funding.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let's do it. Just point us in the right direction and we'll see what we can come up with, okay?
Yep, fair enough. I'll work with Ronnie and try to get something out to you guys.
Okay. Shauna, do you have anything else?
The only question I have is, I think that there's a plan, but I'm just, some community members have reached out to me and asked me what the plan is for repairing the cracks in the walkway, the pathway around the park. I'm just wondering if there's a timeline on that, or not to add more to your plate, but.
Well, I know that Dave Runyon is all over it, so maybe Mike can talk about where.
Yeah, it's definitely a pet peeve of ours that we'd like to get on the list for getting done. So a couple ways that we could do this. One is we could try to get like a trails grant, parks and trails grants, things of that nature to help fund it. And then we could do a supplemental budget or something to that effect. Right now, I don't even think it was on our goal list, but it needs to. It should be. And I think the next item that we had on the parks goal list was benches and barbecue pits.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is more important. It's a liability issue.
Right. This needs to get raised to a little bit higher on the goal list.
Yeah.
But
how do we make that happen?
I think we need money. So we need a grant for, you know, parks and trails, or something to that effect. Maybe an ADA grant, or a community mobility grant, or multimodal transportation grant, or something to that effect that's going to help us repair and replace the funds. Park grants are a good lead for some of that stuff. There's Oregon Parks and Recreation grant. There's Metro Park grants. That might be a good one. Metro just renewed their park levy, so that might be a good source of revenue to do some parks and trails. We also would like to acquire some land between 131st and River's Edge so that we can connect the trail. So any sort of connectivity grant to connect those trails and provide those multimodal transportation connections. You know, I have all this stuff like circling in my brain, but
I know.
Time to go jump down the rabbit hole and start searching for them. Going through, like, you can go to the library and go through grants, or, you know, dig out grants that might be applicable and then apply for them, you know. So that's where Ronnie's saying, you know, we need a grant writer, someone that can dedicate a lot of time to, you know, digging up grants that apply for and ask for funds to help us do these things.
So it sounds like what you're saying is there's grants out there. We just need to find them and apply for them.
Yes. That's a huge component of government in general. Trying to find those dollars to enhance your areas.
So is that something that I can do? Can I look into finding a grant, and can I apply for a grant on behalf of the city? How does that work?
What you would do is find the grant, help us do the application, and then all we have to do is bring it before the council. Council approves it, and then we can sign it and send it in.
Submit
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, sign and
I'll
submit.
look into what I can find for the, I'll start with the pathway and we'll go from there. How about that?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
And I know that Dave Runyon has been looking into it as well.
Okay.
So Dave Runyon is a good source, and he has some thoughts on how to make some of those improvements, and that will help understand what kind of grant money we need.
I think there's open right now that closes in October that I sent over to Dave just like a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So there are grants out there. It's just chasing them down. So yeah, if you find them, talk to Dave Runyon in our office, and you know, you can come in and chat with me.
Okay.
We can give you leads and give you some ideas of where to go, and just a matter of chasing them down and then applying for them. And of
Okay.
course, they're rejected, you know, 70%.
Really?
All right, thank you, Shauna. I think that's perfect. So we'll see what we can get out of this, okay? Thank you for that. Okay, let's see. We have Micah. Micah, where are you?
Oh, he had to drop off because of child.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, so I'll just wrap it up. We've been at it for a while. We know the concerns over COVID. We know that the cases are on the upward trend. We know that there's a strong feeling that a lot of that had to do with social gatherings, barbecues, bachelor parties, and all of those kinds of things. And we just need to make sure that we do our part. We need to make sure that we stay vigilant in wearing our masks when we're involved in group gatherings, outside even. I think that's where our protection is. We're going to need to really communicate that to our friends and family, that we need to follow these basic guidelines. I looked at the latest report, the weekly report on the number of cases in our zip code, and it's gone up to 71 cases in our zip code. And it had been hovering around 20 something for quite some time. So in the 97224 zip code, we're up to 71 cases, known cases. Now, I don't have any information that tells us if there are any deaths built into that, but that's a much bigger number than we were seeing. So we're not void of this. We need to make sure that we do our part, and that's all I can ask. I think as far as City Hall, as far as putting the things in place that we have, I think they're working. I think they're going to work with the plexiglass, the 6 feet apart placards that we have, and not allowing a bunch of people in at any one time is working for City Hall. I have not heard anything about any issues surrounding our businesses where people are refusing to wear face coverings, although it's happening all around the state, all around the region, where some people don't think it's important to do. So it's about, I said it before, this is not the time to be defiant, and people need to understand that we can protect ourselves and others by doing this simple thing. And I still think the businesses need to follow the very simple guideline that they've used for many, many years, and that if you don't have a shirt on, if you don't have shoes on, you don't get served. And you add masks to that. Shirt, shoes, and mask are required, period. And the signage and the information needs to be there and available. And as leaders, we need to demonstrate that we're serious about it as well, because there's been too much rhetoric going on, especially coming from Washington on this issue. So we need to stay on top of it. Landscape maintenance on 131st. Have we been able to get any information, Ronnie, on who the contractor that did the planting, are they in fact responsible for de-weeding that location? Because as great as I feel about that whole project, it can't be viewed as being in disrepair. There are some huge weeds growing out of there, and we need to get a handle on that.
Yeah, Dave took care of it this morning.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, we didn't hear back from anybody on it, so we just went ahead and did it ourselves.
Okay, so he pulled weeds. Is that what he did?
Yep, he pulled the weeds that he sprayed a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But I
It
don't.
is supposed to be their responsibility for, like, I think, what is it, one more year?
It's like a year or two, and I don't know, but Zach didn't reply, so I'm not 100% sure at this moment.
So they're negligent in what they were contracted to do. Is that what we're dealing with?
It was in their response, like post-construction responsibilities, I think is what I saw from.
The only thing is, I'm not sure if it was just
Tree survival or
tree survival and pulling weeds, or if it was just, I need to find the line.
Okay, all right. And I feel guilty every time I get into this conversation because I feel like I'm giving you guys more to do. But at the same time, we also had a conversation about Brightview, who is doing our park, to possibly do the maintenance there too. Did we not ever sign them on to do that? We did. Okay.
we had them on Fisher, I think.
Say that again, Mike.
We had them on Fisher and the portion of Beef Bend, but we pulled them off Beef Bend when the HOA started taking responsibility.
Okay. And then the other question that I had was the fellow who does the maintenance around City Hall that we're paying for landscape, is a landscape person. I can't remember his name. I mean, is a potential candidate to just take care of that piece of it. And, he's a small business guy, that can periodically possibly benefit from just doing that. Is that an option for us?
I've asked him a couple of times, and I think he's kind of overburdened right now.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He's kind of like, I have so much work right now, I can barely keep up with.
That's good. Well,
yeah.
Well, good for him. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's just do what we can. It is important, I think, for us not ever to get into a situation where we look like we're in decline or decay with these wonderful projects that we've done. Okay. All right, that's my concern. Okay, and I'm going to wrap this up. We already talked about the HOA situation and for Edgewater, and I am done.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I was talking, but I was on mute apparently. It is my goal that once we get out of a global pandemic, there's been so much more traffic in the trails around our park, the use of the park, walking around the city, right? Everyone's been walking around a lot. And there is just a big accumulation of trash. And so when it's safe to do so, I would love to do a community kind of pick up your city and kind of do weeding, garbage, right? Get everyone, we have to figure out how to make everyone safe with gloves and so forth. But I think, we could even work with, every once in a while, what's the organization that comes and plants trees to keep erosion and
Friends of Trees.
We could do something like that where we do tree planting, trash pickup, weeding, yada, yada. So when that's kind of going to be a high priority for me as a project once it's safe to do that, because I think, so.
I love it.
Yeah.
Have the community involved.
Absolutely. Little volunteer
in our community.
Exactly. So the soonest opportunity we can do that, I will organize it.
Okay. I love it. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Okay.
I've got one quick question.
Yes, David.
Fisher Road, the manhole covers, what's going on with those?
I'm not aware.
The compaction issue, subsidence.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to replace them. They've been marked by Clean Water Services, and so I expect them to come through and repair. Clean Water Services, Washington County, to take care of that.
So the contractors will handle it. We're not going to dish out more money to fix it.
No, it's a failure on their behalf.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for the question. Okay, this is the time when we need a motion to adjourn.
Shauna has one question.
Oh, go. You're muted.
I forgot that I had another community member ask me about passport services. Do we know when that's going to reopen?
We're going to reopen passports here on August 1.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
Unless we get shut back down.
Yeah, if we get
Well,
shut
we're
back
hoping
down,
that we don't.
then that's probably not going to happen. The only problem is yes, we will be doing passports August 1st if everything goes according to plan. But
I thought we were actually going to start taking appointments July 15th, Ronnie, today.
no, I think we decided August 1st.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I needed to do some research on a couple of things.
First.
Long story short is the State Department is still having some issues with their passports processing because a lot of their employees are still working from home. So it could be a 5-month process to get your passport and your documents back. So
Get a copy before you submit.
yeah, it might be a while before you get your passports.
What if, am I still muted? No. What if somebody just needs like a passport photo?
They would just have to go to the store.
Walgreens.
Not here.
Yeah, no, not we don't do photos here.
Oh, okay.
We talked about doing photos.
We'll do them.
What?
USPS right across the street. We'll do them.
SPS?
The USPS annex.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Perfect.
We'll do them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Walgreens, Rite Aid, all those.
Costco, Walmart.
Stand behind a white background and take it yourself.
Selfie.
And I asked Sam about the, what do you call it? The new ID, what do you call it?
The real ID.
The real ID, that's been moved out to October of next year.
Yeah, that's what I heard. They pushed it back, like they extended it 12 a year.
A year, right? Okay. So if anybody needs to know that, the real ID deadline is October of 2021. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. I asked for a motion. I know you guys don't want to leave. You want to stay here all night long. I ask once again for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to
Make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I'll second Dave's motion. He can have it.
And all in favor, raise your hand and say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take that as unanimous.
Yes.
At 8:35.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good evening.
You too.